Escondido. It means hidden in Spanish. And you would think at 151,000 people in our city that we are far from hidden. But today we're going to be getting after the top 5 reasons why you definitely want to move to our city and what is the great place to live within our city and how much square foot you can get in our city. So enough talking about it, let's get after it. Here we go. What's up, amazing people? I am Liz 𝐒𝐻𝐪 here with the MortgageLiz team located out of San Diego, California. And if this is the first time to my channel and you're looking to find out all the best home loans and their differences and what it's like to eat, live, sleep, and play here in San Diego, California, you definitely want to click that little subscribe button and that little bell so you're reminded every single time we release a new video, because we do it every single week. Honestly, my team and I are receiving calls every single day with people just like you that are thinking about moving to San Diego, whether it's from a different county or just a different part of San Diego, and are looking for that best area that suits for them. So if you're thinking about making that move, you definitely want to reach out to us. Give us a call, send us a text, or an email, whatever is easiest for you. We would love the opportunity to be able to help you and make that move, and definitely we got your back when moving to San Diego. Now let's get after the top 5 reasons why Escondido is a great place to live. So on our number 1, it's going to be you get to go camping at Dixon Lake. The big difference though is that we are not technically right next to the Pacific Ocean. We're not over by La Jolla, over by Coronado. So at Dixon Lake, it is a pretty large lake of where you get to go in and you get to go either paddleboarding or you get to go in a boat if you have one yourself, hiking, walking, parties. Back in the day, you had to actually rent the specific area if you wanted like a barbecue spot under one of the big huge tents. So there's a lot to do at Dixon Lake. One of the things that you want to just keep in mind when you do move here to Escondido is that you are going to have to reserve those. Back in the day, it was kind of the concept of whoever got there first was the one who owned that spot. And unfortunately, that's just no longer the case. You do have to reserve those. There's about 12 to about 16 spots that you get to reserve. Along with, there is actually a couple playgrounds. Once you go into Dixon Lake, you're going to have to go up the hill and then go down. And then once you go to the top of Dixon Lake, you do actually have to pay a fee to be able to get into the lake. And then on the bottom of the lake, there's actually a big, huge green area where, again, there's somewhere where you can have your party and then you could play games. But if you drive up and around to the top, you actually have more area, and that's actually typically where you will find people going hiking, biking. There's actually on the side of our lake, if you go up, you can actually start using your bike and go that way. I gotta tell you, it is a hike. So it's not something that you're going to do in a short time frame. You can truly go all the way around the lake. It is pretty big overall, and then you can get some really massively amazing pictures at Dixon Lake too. One of the big things that you want to be aware of is that you can also camp there. I gotta tell you, I am not the camper. I do not camp. So unless I'm like physically in a cabin, you're not going to see me camping. That's just not my cup of tea. However, if that's what you're looking for, where you can go camp and then hang out in the outdoors, that's going to be where you're going to be able to do that. And of course, you can also go fishing. At Dixon Lake, they also do have the Trout Derby, which is a couple times a year, which is another option where you can take your kids, and then they actually have like a little kiddie pool spot where they can actually fish out of this specific little kind of net with all these trout, and then they can actually grab onto that fish all by themselves. So it's kind of like a guarantee that they're going to get that fish. It gives you kind of the other aspect of what we have here in Escondido. Because it is such a large city, you also have the lake, and then also we have Lake Wolford, which is on another conversation as well. So if you're thinking about camping at Dixon Lake, there is 35 or actually over 35 campsites at Dixon Lake for you to be able to choose from, as well as that you can have your parties there, which is kind of what I was referring to before. Also, when you do your Easter egg hunts, you have a lot of space to be able to hide those eggs at Dixon Lake as well. You want to make sure that when you do go actually on your hike up on the side of Dixon Lake, that you want to make sure you don't go out too far, because it can get pretty hilly when you get up there. And then also you can also end up falling. So you want to make sure you don't end up falling in the lake, because yes, that has happened before, and yes, I've seen it, and sometimes you just gotta laugh. So on to number 2. And that's going to be Escondido is the home for California Center of the Arts. California Center of the Arts is actually right in the middle of the heart of Escondido, right in the center. It's across the street from the Regals, which is our movie theater that we have in Escondido, and it's actually on the other side of Grape Day Park, right next to the Children's Museum. The Center of the Arts actually is where we do a lot of field trips within your school that we have here in Escondido. It's where you get to go see different plays or different arts. Even during Christmas time, they actually do their shows, their Christmas shows. They're at the Center of the Arts. So you do actually get a lot out of the Center of the Arts here in Escondido. They do conventions as well here in Escondido. All of these things are something that we used to do a lot during pre-pandemic. Of course, that'll eventually get back to normal, but as of right now, that is something that we used to do a lot. They do use a lot of that Center of the Arts and a lot of the different amenities and shows for the different field trips that we have within the schools of our city. The Center of the Arts has a pretty unique campus. There's a spot where you can actually have your wedding, which is technically where I actually got married. And then they have a concert hall that has about 1,500 seats. And then on the other side, they actually have a theater, which has about 400 seats. Let's not forget about the contemporary arts, the museum. There's so much to see here at the Center of the Arts that you get to come and enjoy when you live here in Escondido. So of course, the Center of the Arts is all about the education, and they actually do a 52-week free event every single Wednesday where they are constantly allowing the public to be able to come in and learn about multiple different things. So if you're ever in Escondido or you're kind of just traveling through our city, this is definitely something that you want to see if you come in on that Wednesday. So the Center of the Arts is actually located right on Escondido Boulevard, right next to like that favorite pho place that I was talking about, the Regal movie theater, and on the other side of Grape Day Park. So in general, you just want to make sure that you're aware of the Center of the Arts so that way you can come and visit and check out one of the shows, or maybe have your quinceañera in their hall as well, which is another option too. So on to number 3, and that is the real estate market here in Escondido is actually pretty competitive. You're going to be able to find actually a lot more dollar per square foot, which is what we were talking about right in the very beginning, here in Escondido in comparison to Valley Center, San Marcos, or Rancho Bernardo. While in our current market, it is not the lowest of the low when it comes to our prices. Of course, you are going to end up finding more affordable prices overall within San Diego. Especially in Escondido, we've actually found that it is actually the most affordable city out of the entire county of San Diego, meaning that you can actually get more per square foot than you can in a different area or a different city. So for example, if you were to go to Valley Center, you're gonna find that Valley Center is actually about 11.2% roughly comparison in a higher cost of living. So let's just say 11% higher in Valley Center. However, Valley Center, you're also gonna find more acreage and a bigger area to be able to live in. Flip side, now let's talk about San Marcos. So San Marcos, same thing. It's going to be a higher cost of living in San Marcos than it is in Escondido. Again, over 11% in San Marcos. However, when you look at the differences as to what you get in Valley Center, what you get in San Marcos, and then what you get in Escondido, it's truly got to be where you're looking for. So in Escondido, again, you're going to find that most affordable home. As of last year in 2020, market prices have been going up, as you may have seen. Home prices have actually been increasing 4 to 8% depending on the area, depending on the part of San Diego that you're looking at. It has actually been increasing. So the last numbers that we were looking at was that Escondido's home prices were about $527,900 for a single family home. With that being said, in Escondido, you're going to also find a very big variation of home prices. So on prior videos that you will have seen that we were talking about the different communities, and within the communities actually how much different communities carry different prices. In Escondido, there's actually over 30 communities, and so prices range pretty significant. So if you're talking about over by Lake Wolford, home prices are close to about $3 million. Looking over by Mary Lane, you're in that $700,000 to $1 million bracket. And then you're right in the heart of downtown. We're looking at the middle 600s, while on the other side of town, over by El Norte, you're going to be finding homes, again, high 500s to the low 600s. That's just kind of where we sit right now within our current market. So again, according to bestplaces.net, bestplaces.net stated that in Escondido, if you made $100,000, buying a home at $527,900 would be equivalent to going to San Marcos and buying a home for $597,800, which is 13.2% more expensive in San Marcos than it is here in Escondido. So it's really important to be able to see the differences when it comes to price, because you will end up spending almost $70,000 more to buy the exact per se same home in San Marcos than you will in Escondido. With that being said though, it is really hard to find a home in San Marcos under $600,000. I've had a variety of different clients that are trying to find homes in San Marcos, and unfortunately the home prices are just sometimes out of their range. So we go back to Escondido because it is more affordable, or we go to Valley Center, or sometimes we go a little bit further north like Riverside County, going to Temecula, Murrieta, and Menifee, where maybe they can find a little bit that is more affordable for them and their family. So what does this tell us? Well, it means that right now is a great time to buy, but of course, like I say every single time, you've got to be financially ready to buy. So when we're looking at the different areas about your wants, your needs, and truly where you want to live, we look at Valley Center, which also has schools in Valley Center. We look at Escondido and there's schools in Escondido. Then we look at San Marcos. Depending on what your wants and needs are, maybe you'll find Escondido is the best place to live, or maybe it's San Marcos. But you just got to know that the different cost of living is pretty significant when comparing just those three cities, not even looking at the remaining cities within the county of San Diego. So let's move on to number 4. And that's going to be the Old Escondido, our historic area. So our historic area is located right in the middle of downtown. And in downtown, there's a whole bunch of shops right on Grand Avenue. So on the beginning part of Grand Avenue, where it kind of connects to East Valley Parkway, right there is actually where we used to have Palomar Hospital. Palomar Hospital is not located there anymore. Now it moved to the other side of town, which is over by Auto Parkway, over by the Target, right before you go up the hill to go to Del Dios Highway. And so with that, we have Grand Avenue, and on Grand Avenue, you're going to find a lot of small mom pop shops, some really good pizza joints like Felipe's Pizza, and then a good burger spot, Burger Bench. Oh my gosh, their tater tots are amazing. Definitely want to try that. And then as you kind of just walk down the street, you're going to be able to find a lot of other shops. There's actually even like an animal spot where you can buy your first bird. And then there's even a spot where you can actually buy a vacuum or repair a vacuum. There's a seamstress spot right there as well. So like I said, there is a lot of different little spots. Oh, and let's not forget about the tamale spot. Okay, so if you are in the mood for some tamales, they actually have them on Grand. I believe it's right on Calmia, if I'm not mistaken, where it's Grand and Calmia, and it's right on that corner. And then so it's something that you definitely want to try out when you're coming to Escondido, to be able to see all the different spots within our Old Escondido. So Old Escondido does connect to downtown. So Old Escondido is kind of like on the right side, where you're going to find our library as well, which is on the other side of Calmia. You're going to find our historic district, where our older style of homes are, and that you can't really make a lot of changes without the city approval because they are historic homes. So it just gives you the ability of being able to see kind of where the city used to be and how it is now renovated and how many things have been updated here in the city. So just like we were talking about the Center of the Arts being in the center of town, right? It was right next to Grape Day Park, the Children's Museum, and then right next to over by the Regal. Well, the Old Escondido and downtown is right there. So when you go kind of from the Regal to the other side, you're going to find that spot where you're going to find our downtown. And then on the other side of that street is where you're going to find our historic area. So it kind of gives you really good a perception as to see where our actual city is. You can actually take that road all the way up and get to the freeway as well, take you to Dick's and to Target and to Bevmo, which is on the other side of town. And then of course that will take you up to the Del Dios Highway too. So on to number 5, and that is Cruisin Grand. So Cruisin Grand is actually, again, located on Grand Avenue. And the coolest thing about Grand Avenue and Cruisin Grand is that you get to see all the old cars. So this starts up on Fridays, and it actually starts up right up in April and then goes to almost about September. So remember kind of what we've said before is that depending on the weather, you may or may not want to be out there, whether we happen to land on one of those rainy days. But for the most part, you're going to find a pretty sunny, cool afternoon to be able to go on to Cruisin Grand. So when you see all those old cars right on Grand Avenue, they have like the muscle cars and then the classic cars, and then they even have like the old trucks. So by no means am I the car knowledge person that you want to go to, but I do love seeing all those old cars. I don't know the names of all of them, but it is pretty amazing when you get to go down there and really just kind of take your kids and walk down Grand Avenue. They do some really cool stuff like races and things like that down Cruisin Grand. And then they also have like little events on those Fridays. That's also where we also have our farmers market on different days as well. Same spot on Grand Avenue. And Cruisin Grand has been going on for the last 20 years. So if you ever are driving through town or just curious about the area, you definitely want to check out Cruisin Grand on Friday. It starts right about 3 or 4 o'clock and people get there early to get their spot. So you want to make sure that you get there on time, or maybe you might be parking a little bit farther down the street before you can actually get there. So something I learned myself was actually every single Friday, they actually end up having an award ceremony for the coolest cars. That I didn't know, because typically when we do go to Cruisin Grand, we're finding kind of our spot to eat, hanging out, looking around. Don't really check out the award ceremony per se. By that point, we're probably typically back at the house when that does happen. And they also have theme nights like Fire Truck Night, Nitro Night, AFX Night, which honestly, I don't know what AFX Night is, but it's something that we're definitely going to be learning here in this new year. And Cruisin Grand is actually honored to be called one of the best cruises in the entire country. And each week they have new live bands on Juniper, Kalmia, and on Maple. And then they have a live DJ on North Broadway. So depending on what your groove is, you're probably gonna find it on Cruisin Grand on Friday in between April and September. And for all of you non-locals, South Broadway on Cruisin Grand Friday is actually reserved for the club of the night. That's actually the car club of the night. So you want to make sure that you are not parking your car, because it's very possible you might get towed. All right, amazing people. So today we were diving in on the top 5 reasons why Escondido is a great place to live. We were talking about the Center of the Arts, and then we were talking about Cruisin Grand, and we were talking about Dixon Lake, and let's not forget about the housing prices. So there is a lot to talk about when it comes to Escondido and their neighboring cities. So if you're thinking about moving or making that move, or just curious about another area, you definitely want to reach out to us. Make sure that you give us a call, send us a text, or an email, whatever is easiest for you. We got your back when moving to San Diego, California, and even Escondido. We want to make sure that have your back when moving to San Diego. So if this is the channel for you, you definitely want to click that subscribe button and that little bell so you're reminded every single time I release a new video, because I do that every single week. And until next time, see you on the next one.